It's Mickey Mouse's picnic. I even got my Mickey Mouse ears on. Well, not Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse. Sorry it's so late today, but I was busy doing other things, like trying to get my children organised to do their schoolwork and all the multiple emails that I've been getting. I'm sure you other mummies and daddies and aunties and uncles and grands and grandpas and whoever else might be supervising children are having a fun time of it too. So just know that even if you're a teacher, this is getting right up you. So today we have Mickey Mouse's picnic and maybe a little bit of a Pooh later. So this is Walt Disney's Mickey Mouse's Picnic, and it's a golden book with a nice spine, but this is actually a bit of a soft book. Don't mind soft, but I prefer the hard ones because they last a bit longer. Don't you find that? So, although I'm saying that, this is much older than my children and is from when I was little, because there's my name. Who would have thought? Books can last as long as me. 25 years, long time, isn't it? I know you all feel older at 25. So do I. So, Mickey Mouse's Picnic. Mickey Mouse sang, "What a beautiful day for a picnic. What a picnical day for a lark. We'll frolic all day in the happiest way, and we won't get back home until dark." Well, isn't Mickey Mouse lucky that he's allowed to go out into a public space and have a picnic? I'm sure lots of us would like to be able to do that right now. Wouldn't you, Janelle? I would too. Mickey was feeling very happy as he skipped up the walk to Minnie Mouse's house. "Ready, Minnie," he called. Pluto and Goofy and Daisy Duck and Clarabelle Cow were waiting in Mickey's car. "Ready," smiled Minnie. Mickey peeked inside the lunch basket. Minnie had packed peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and cold meat sandwiches and deviled eggs and potato salad, radishes and onions and pink lemonade. What an unusual picnic. What would you put in your picnic? Not sure I'd have deviled eggs and pink lemonade. A great big chocolate cake. Ooh, definitely I would have that. "Let's go," said Mickey, and he picked up the basket and led Minnie out to the car. I always love books that have chocolate cake. It's like an automatic reaction that I just think, warm and scrummy. "It seems strange to start off on a picnic without Donald Duck," said Mickey as they drove away. "Yes, but there is always trouble when Donald is along," said the others. None of them saw a figure watching from behind the bushes, and when they were far down the road, none of them saw that figure come out from hiding and jump up and down in rage. Why do you think Donald would be jumping up and down in rage? How would you be feeling if you got left out? It's not nice to find out, is it, that you got left out? What a beautiful day for a picnic. What a picnical day for a lark. Everyone sang as Mickey Mouse drove merrily down the road to the picnic grounds, and it did start out to be a perfect day. First, they went for a walk along the riverbank. They found a grassy spot beneath a tall shade tree, and they left Minnie's lunch basket there. Then everyone went swimming in the old swimming hole. Anyone else been swimming in an old swimming hole lately? No, neither have I, because we're technically supposed to stay at home. And how good that fresh, cool water felt. They swam and floated and played around and had a wonderful time. How lovely would that be? I'd just like to get into that picnic basket, I think. "I'm hungry enough to eat that whole basket full of lunch myself," Mickey Mouse said after a while. "We'll see that you don't, Mickey Mouse," Minnie laughed. "But it is time to eat, I guess." So they all scrambled out of the water and hurried off to dress. "Say," Goofy cried, "look at this, will you?" Goofy was holding up his pants. The legs were all tied in knots. So were his shirt sleeves, and Mickey's were too. "Well, I never," said Clarabelle Cow. Some mischief maker must be around, Mickey said with a shake of his head. But Minnie had a worse thought than that. The lunch, she cried, and she ran up the bank to the shade of that big old tree. The lunch basket was gone. And who do you suppose took the lunch basket? Can you guess? No, it wasn't Yogi Bear and it wasn't Donald Trump. Oh, groaned everyone, not the lunch. Hurry into your clothes, everybody, Mickey cried. We'll soon find out about this. Lucky they weren't skinny dipping or they'd be in right trouble, wouldn't they? They struggled to undo the knots in their clothes. Then they dressed in a flash and were off on the hunt. All through the woods they hunted, under every bush and trailing vine, but not a sign of that lunch basket did they see. At last they came out on the road again, near where they had left Mickey's car. They were hot and tired and hungry and cross. I would imagine that I would be hot and tired and hungry and cross if my lunch basket had been stolen. How would you feel? And how would you deal with it? Because it's about your response, not your reaction. They're two different things. When you respond to something, you think about it and think how you can solve it. When you react, you just go off in a big tanty rage all of a sudden and don't think. And it was then that they met Donald Duck walking along the road all by himself. He had a fishing pole over one shoulder and a bundle hung from the end of the fishing pole. Donald was whistling as he walked along and he looked very pleased with himself. I'll bet he did. Well, hello, 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 he cried. Imagine meeting you folks out here. I just came for some fishing myself, got tired of spending a lonely day at home. Just a little passive-aggressive, isn't it? Oh, yes, said Mickey. He felt bad because they had left Donald behind. Where are you folks going? Donald asked. We are hunting for our lunch, Mickey said. Imagine how Mickey would be feeling. How would you be feeling? Do you think Mickey might be feeling a little bit guilty that he hadn't asked Donald, even though he may be a troublemaker? For lunch, said Donald. Why, I have enough for all of us in my bundle here. I will be glad to share it with my friends. Now everyone felt guilty, but they were hungry, so they said thank you. They would like to eat with Donald. Under the same big shady tree, Donald opened his bundle and spread out his lunch. It was delicious. Let's see what Donald has. There were peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, cold meat sandwiches, and deviled eggs and potato salad, radishes and onions, and pink lemonade, and a great big chocolate cake. Sound familiar? I think it does too. A strange look came into Mickey and Minnie's eyes as they saw the picnic lunch, but they did not say a word. So they all sat down and ate and ate. This is delicious, Donald, said Clarabelle Cow. And it is nice of you too, Donald, Daisy Duck added, to share it with us. Sure is, said Goofy, reaching for another sandwich. Yes, Mickey admitted. I guess we misjudged you, Donald, old boy. But I think that it wasn't just a coincidence. How about you? Said Minnie Mouse. Then she turned to Donald with her sweetest smile. Did you bring a knife for cutting the chocolate cake, Donald? She asked. I had one somewhere, Donald said. He looked all around, but he could not find it. I fastened a knife to the bottom of my cake pan with paper tape, Minnie said. Mickey leaned over and looked at the bottom of the cake pan, and there, sure enough, was a knife fastened to the bottom of the pan with paper tape. On the knife handle were the letters M.M. Well, said Minnie. Why, Donald, said Daisy Duck. So that's where our lunch disappeared to, cried Mickey. What do you think the outcome might be? Do you think they'll forgive him? Do you think they may apologise? I think there's several things that need to happen. Donald dropped his eyes. I'm sorry, honest I am, he said. I won't ever do it again. And where is my lunch basket? Minnie asked. In the back of Mickey's car, Donald admitted. Mickey had to laugh. Well, he said as he cut the cake, we've all learned a lesson, I think. Donald won't snatch any lunch baskets soon, and we know it's better to bring Donald on a picnic. Everyone had to laugh then, and they all piled back into Mickey's car. They made room for Donald to sit in the empty lunch basket. Then away they went toward town, singing merrily, We will frolic all day in the happiest way, and we won't get back home until dark. Who else is feeling a little envious that they're allowed to go and meet up together and have a picnic? Me too. Maybe you could all have a picnic online. Mickey Mouse's Picnic. It's a very old book, and especially for Lynette today, because we were talking about Pooh and Piglet, I have a special book for her today. So this goes out to you, Lynette. Thinking of you today. Winnie the Pooh meets Tigger. And we can see Tigger over here. Eeyore, Pooh, Roo, and Piglet. Winnie the Pooh meets Tigger by A.A. Milne. What do you think might happen in this story? Winnie the Pooh woke up suddenly in the middle of the night and listened. Then he got out of bed, lit his candle, and stumped across the room to see if anybody was trying to get into his honey cupboard. And they weren't, so he stumped back again, blew out his candle, and got into bed. Then he heard the noise again. Is that you, Piglet? He said, but it wasn't. Come in, Christopher Robin, he said, but Christopher Robin didn't. Tell me about it tomorrow, Eeyore, said Pooh sleepily, but the noise went on. Wada, 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 said whatever it was, and Pooh found that he wasn't asleep after all. What can it be, he thought. There are lots of noises in the forest, but this is a different one. It isn't a growl, and it isn't a purr, and it isn't a bark, and it isn't the noise you make before beginning a piece of poetry, which might go a little bit more like but it's a noise of some kind made by a strange animal, and he's making it outside my door. So I shall get up and ask him not to do it. Don't you hate it when animals make those noises outside your door? Sometimes the animals make that noise inside my door. He got out of bed and opened his front door. Hello, said Pooh, in case there was anything outside. Hello, said whatever it was. Oh, said Pooh. Hello. Hello. Oh, there you are, said Pooh. Hello. Hello, said the strange animal, wondering how long this was going on. Pooh was just going to say hello for the 4th time when he thought he wouldn't. So he said, Who is it, instead? Me, said a voice. Oh, said Pooh, well, come here. So whatever it was came here, and in the light of the candle he and Pooh looked at each other. I'm Pooh, said Pooh. I'm Tigger, said Tigger. Oh, said Pooh, for he had never seen an animal like this before. Does Christopher Robin know about you? Of course he does, said Tigger. Well, said Pooh, it's the middle of the night, which is a good time for going to sleep. And tomorrow morning we'll have some honey for breakfast. Do Tiggers like honey? They like everything, said Tigger cheerfully. Then if they like going to sleep on the floor, I'll go back to bed, said Pooh, and we'll do things in the morning. Good night. And he got back into bed and went fast asleep. Would you like a Tigger on your floor? I have a Tigger in my garden that pings around. I called him Tunker, but I probably should have called him Tigger. When he awoke in the morning, the first thing he saw was Tigger sitting in front of the glass and looking at himself. Hello, said Pooh. Hello, said Tigger. I found somebody just like me. I thought I was the only one of them. Pooh got out of bed and began to explain what a looking glass was. But just as he was getting to the interesting part, Tigger said, Excuse me for a moment, but there's something climbing up your table. And with a loud whooter, he jumped at the end of the tablecloth, pulled it to the ground, wrapped himself in it 3 times, rolled to the other end of the room, and after a terrible struggle, got his head into the daylight again and said cheerfully, Have I won? That's my tablecloth, said Pooh, as he began to unwind Tigger. I wondered what it was, said Tigger. It goes on the table and you put things on it. Then why did it try to bite me when I wasn't looking? I don't think it did, said Pooh. It tried, said Tigger, but I was too quick for it. Who knows what a looking glass is? What do we call it? We call it a mirror. How many of you have sat down and thought that somebody else looking just like you is in the mirror, but maybe looks a lot older than you really are? I know, I have the same problem. Somebody who looks remotely like me turns up in the mirror every morning, but I know I'm much younger than that. Pooh put the cloth back on the table, and he put a large honey pot on the cloth, and they sat down to breakfast. And as soon as they sat down, Tigger took a large mouthful of honey, and he looked up at the ceiling with his head on one side and made exploring noises with his tongue, and considering noises. And what have we got here? Noises. And then he said in a very decided voice, Tiggers don't like honey. Well, he should have thought about that before he stuck his fingers in the honey pot and then slurped them into his mouth, shouldn't he? Oh, said Pooh, and tried to make it sound sad and regretful. I thought they liked everything. Everything except honey, said Tigger. Pooh felt rather pleased about this and said that as soon as he had finished his own breakfast, he would take Tigger round to Piglet's house. Great, no interruptions here. And Tigger could try some of Piglet's haycorns. Thank you, Pooh, said Tigger, because haycorns is really what Tiggers like best. So after breakfast, they went round to see Piglet, and Pooh explained as they went that Piglet was a very small animal who didn't like bouncing, and asked Tigger not to be too bouncy just at first. And Tigger, who had been hiding behind trees and jumping out on Pooh's shadow when it wasn't looking, said that Tiggers were only bouncy before breakfast, and that as soon as they had had a few haycorns, they became quiet and refined. So by and by, they knocked at the door of Piglet's house. Hello, Pooh, said Piglet. Oh, is it? Hello, Piglet, this is Tigger. Oh, is it? Said Piglet, and he edged round to the other side of the table. I thought Tiggers were smaller than that. Not the big ones, said Tigger. They like haycorns, said Pooh. So that's what we've come for, because poor Tigger hasn't had any breakfast yet. Well, he should have thought about that before he turned up at some random's house expecting to be fed. Shouldn't he? Piglet pushed the bowl of acorns towards Tigger and said, "Help yourself." And then he got close up to Pooh and felt much braver and said, "So you're Tigger?" "Well, well," in a careless sort of voice, but Tigger said nothing because his mouth was full of acorns. After a long munching noise, he said, "Sorry, orders." And when Pooh and Piglet said, "What?" he said, "Scusi," and went outside for a moment. When he came back, he said firmly, "Tiggers don't like acorns." "But you said they liked everything except honey," said Pooh. "Everything except honey and acorns," explained Tigger. When he heard this, Pooh said, "Oh, I see," and Piglet, who was rather glad that Tiggers didn't like acorns, said, "What about thistles?" "Thistles," said Tigger, "is what Tiggers like best. But I'm getting a tad idea that he's full of rubbish and doesn't actually know what he likes at all. But at least he's trying things, because it's always good to try new things, isn't it? Not just sit there and say, 'Ooh, I don't like that,' like some children do. You have to try stuff. And you have to try it more than once too, just in case there's little people listening. You have to try it more than once. I used to think I didn't like broccoli. Now I do. I still don't like mushrooms, though I have tried them lots of times." "Thistles," said Tigger, "is what Tiggers like best." "Then let's go along and see Eeyore," said Piglet. Piglet's super cute and he likes to hold Pooh. Do you like, if you had a Pooh, would you hold your Pooh? I think Piglet loves Pooh. Do you? I think Pooh loves Piglet too. So the three of them went, and after they had walked and walked and walked and walked, they came to the part of the forest where Eeyore was. "Hello, Eeyore," said Pooh. "This is Tigger." "What is?" said Eeyore. "This," explained Pooh and Piglet together, and Tigger smiled his happiest smile and said nothing. Can you smile your happiest smile? Say nothing. Eeyore walked all around Tigger one way and then turned and walked all round him the other way. "What did you say it was?" he asked Tigger. Lucky I'm not mixing them up with Pigger and Tiglet, eh? Used to. "Ah," said Eeyore. "He's just come," explained Piglet. "Ah," said Eeyore again. He thought for a long time and then said, "When is he going?" Sounds like children when you have visitors, doesn't it? Or when you go visiting and they say to you, "When can we go home?" Can we go home now? Such great manners, and you just have to gloss over it, squeeze their hands really tightly and say, "Be quiet, because you're going to get it when we get out to the car." No, I don't really do that, do I? Pooh explained to Eeyore that Tigger was a great friend of Christopher Robin's, who had come to stay in the forest, and Piglet explained to Tigger that he mustn't mind what Eeyore said because he was always gloomy. And Eeyore explained to Piglet that, on the contrary, he was feeling particularly cheerful this morning. And Tigger explained to anybody who was listening that he hadn't had any breakfast yet. "I knew there was something," said Pooh. "Tiggers always eat thistles, so that was why we came to see you, Eeyore." "Don't mention it, Pooh." "Oh, Eeyore, I didn't mean that I didn't want to see you. Quite, but your new stripy friend Naturally, he wants his breakfast. What did you say his name was? I think Tigger might have dementia because Eeyore might have some slight dementia because he keeps forgetting. Tigger. Then come this way, Tigger. Eeyore led the way to the most thistly-looking patch of thistles that ever was and waved a hoof at it. A little patch I was keeping for my birthday, he said. But after all, what are birthdays? Here today and gone tomorrow. Help yourself, Tigger. Quite frankly, I'd be grateful if I was Eeyore that birthdays are here today and gone tomorrow, because then you can just gloss over your real age, ladies, can't you? Not that aging matters, because it's just a blessing. Tigger thanked him and looked a little anxiously at Pooh. Are these really thistles? He whispered. Yes, said Pooh. What Tiggers like best? That's right, said Pooh. I see, said Tigger. So he took a large mouthful and gave a large crunch. Ow, said Tigger. He sat down and put his paw in his mouth. Why do you think he did that? Nobody likes to munch on prickly thistles, do they? Do you think Tigger would prefer something smooth to munch on? Me too. What's the matter? Asked Pooh. Hot, mumbled Tigger. Your friend, said Eeyore, appears to have bitten on a bee. Gosh, I know somebody else who did this when I was a kid. Pooh's friend stopped shaking his head to get the prickles out and explained that Tiggers didn't like thistles. Then why bend a perfectly good one? Asked Eeyore. But you said, began Pooh, you said that Tiggers liked everything except honey and acorns. And thistles, said Tigger, who was now running round in circles with his tongue hanging out. Pooh looked at him sadly. Sorry, I've got idiot dogs running around me, and I can't yell at them really loudly because they're being twats. Ruby. Pooh looked at him sadly. What are we going to do? He asked Piglet. Piglet knew the answer to that, and he said at once that they must go and see Christopher Robin. You'll find him with Kanga, said Eeyore. He came close to Pooh and said in a loud whisper, could you ask your friend, are you right? Everyone's getting in on the act today. Seriously, zip it. You'll find him with Kanga, said Eeyore. He came close to Pooh and said in a loud whisper, could you ask your friend to do his exercises somewhere else? I shall be having lunch directly and don't want it bounced on just before I begin. A trifling matter and fussy of me, but we all have our little ways. Would you want someone to bounce on your lunch just before you eat it? I wouldn't either. It would be a little bit crushed, especially if it was pavlova. Pooh nodded solemnly and called to Tigger. Come along and we'll go and see Kanga. She's sure to have lots of breakfast for you. Tigger finished his last circle and came up to Pooh and Piglet. Hot, he explained with a large and friendly smile. Come on, and he rushed off. Pooh and Piglet walked slowly after him, and as they walked, Piglet said nothing, but he couldn't think of anything, and Pooh said nothing, but he was thinking of a poem, and when he had thought of it, he began, what shall we do about poor little Tigger? If he never eats nothing, he'll never get bigger. He doesn't like honey and acorns and thistles because of the taste and because of the bristles. And all the good things which an animal likes have the wrong sort of swallow. or too many spikes? He's quite big enough anyhow, said Piglet. He isn't really very big. Well, he seems so. Pooh was thoughtful when he heard this, and then he murmured to himself, but whatever his weight in pounds, shillings and ounces, he always seems bigger because of his bounces. And that's the whole poem, he said. Do you like it, Piglet? All except the shillings, said Piglet. I don't think they ought to be there. They wanted to come in after the pounds, explained Pooh, so I let them. It is the best way to write poetry, letting things come. Oh, I didn't know, said Piglet. And that's quite true. You could write poems and you just let the ideas and the words come. Tigger had been bouncing in front of them all this time, turning round every now and then to ask, is this the way? And now at last they came in sight of Kanga's house, and there was Christopher Robin. Tigger rushed up to him. Oh, there you are, Tigger, said Christopher Robin. I knew you'd be somewhere. I've been finding things in the forest, said Tigger importantly. I've found a Pooh and a Piglet and an Eeyore, but I can't find any breakfast. What things have you found when you've gone into the bush or into the forest? Have you found a Pooh, a Piglet or an Eeyore? Have you found a Tigger? Pooh and Piglet came and hugged Christopher Robin and explained what had been happening. Do you know what Tigger's like? Asked Pooh. I expect if I thought very hard I should, said Christopher Robin. But I thought Tigger knew. I do, said Tigger. Everything there is in the world except honey and acorns, and what were those hot things called? Thistles. Yes, and those. Oh, well then, Kanga can give you some breakfast. So they went into Kanga's house, and when Roo had said, hello Pooh and hello Piglet once, and hello Tigger twice, because he had never said it before and it sounded funny, they told Kanga what they wanted, and Kanga said very kindly, well, look in my cupboard, Tigger dear, and see what you'd like, because she knew at once that however big Tigger seemed to be, he wanted as much kindness as Roo. So even if somebody is super bouncy, they still want kindness, don't they? I think we all want kindness, don't we? Shall I look too? Said Pooh, who was beginning to feel a little 11 o'clock-ish. And he found a small tin of condensed milk, and something seemed to tell him that Tiggers didn't like this, so he took it into a corner by itself and went with it to see that nobody interrupted it. Seriously, I hear any of you using that as an excuse to sit in the corner and stick your fingers in condensed milk and eat it? We have another conversation. But the more Tigger put his nose into this and his paw into that, the more things he found which Tiggers didn't like. And when he had found everything in the cupboard and couldn't eat any of it, he said to Kanga, what happens now? What would happen in your house if you had tried absolutely everything and didn't like any of it? I know in my house, my children would have to go without. And they'd have to end up liking something. But Kanga and Christopher Robin and Piglet were all standing round Roo, watching him have his extract of malt. I know, Shan and Mum, you love it, but I don't. And Roo was saying, must I? And Kanga was saying, now, Roo dear, you remember what you promised. What is it? Whispered Tigger to Pigger. Tigger to Piglet. See, I told you, it's lucky I wasn't saying Tiglet and Pigger. His strengthening medicine, said Piglet. He hates it. Sounds like giraffe medicine to me. Yuck. So Tigger came closer and he leant over to the back of Roo's chair, and suddenly he put out his tongue and took one large gollop. And with a sudden jump of surprise, Kanga said, "Oh!" and then clutched at the spoon again just as it was disappearing and pulled it safely back out of Tigger's mouth. But the extract of malt had gone. "Tigger dear," said Kanga, "he's taken my medicine, he's taken my medicine, he's taken my medicine," sang Roo happily, thinking it was a tremendous joke. Then Tigger looked up at the ceiling and closed his eyes. "Go away, you horrible monkeys." And his tongue went round and round his chops, in case he had left any outside, and a peaceful smile, unlike those butcher birds that I'm going to wallop shortly, came over his face, and he said, "So that's what Tigger's like." Are you quite finished, Mr. Butcherbird? Goodness me, rackety old things. Which explains why he always lived at Kanga's house afterwards and had extract of malt for breakfast, dinner and tea. And sometimes when Kanga... Bugger me, what the heck? And sometimes when Kanga thought he wanted strengthening, he had a spoonful or two of Roo's breakfast after meals as medicine. "But I think," said Piglet to Pooh, "that he's been strengthening quite enough." Oh, and that is the end of Winnie the Pooh meets Tigger, and Piglet, and Eeyore, and Kanga, and Roo, and Christopher Robin too. So, that was for you, Lynette. I hope you have all had a beautiful day. Sorry it was so late, but I was busy on a Zoom meeting and organising my children for their schoolwork today, which I know lots of you have all had to do too. I hope you've had a wonderful day. Remember to be kind, especially to you. Remember to be compassionate to you too and to everybody else. And remember to do something for yourself that makes you feel good. Might be going out and screaming in the car after the frustration of today, or it might be sitting outside and listening to noisy butcher birds. Seriously. Or it might be sitting with your chickens, or it might be a whole host of other things. Find something that fills up your tank so that you've got enough to share the love. And on that note, I might see you a little earlier tomorrow. Have a good one, people. Hooroo!